Hello, beautiful people. So we're going through the pre-final for IM3 Integrated Math 3. This is the first pre-final that I passed out. We're just going to go through some of the questions. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through all of them, but some of the questions. There is a video on pretest number 2. Again, not all of the questions, but there is a video on pretest number 2 that was done with by Miss Denny. So there is a link in your Google Classroom to go watch that. But let's get started and get as much done as we can here on this pre-final number 1. So the first thing is it's asking us to find the volume of the given figure. Now on your test, you will be able to use your reference sheet. Excuse me here while I grab it. And so I will be able to pass that out. I will pass that out to you. So you should be able to. This is where I'm getting my formulas from. I'm not expecting you to memorize these formulas, although with time you should be able to commit them to memory. All right, so find the volume of the given figure. So I'm going to actually cut this figure into 2 rectangular prisms. So I'm going to cut it here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, but I am cutting it right down here. So I'm going to have one that's a rectangular prism here, and then I'm going to have another rectangular prism starting where I cut it, and that's going to be another rectangular prism. That's my other rectangular prism. Like that. So you have 2 rectangular prisms, and so we're trying to find the volume. So I have the volume of my first rectangular prism, so first regular, volume of my second rectangle, and then because it is a composite figure, we're going to be adding those 2 volumes together to get my total volume. So I'm looking at my cheat sheet for the volume of a prism, and it says capital B times H. Now you need to know that the capital B times H, capital B, stands for the area of the base. I hesitated there for a second, excuse me. So capital B stands for the area of the base, since we are both using the prisms, rectangular prisms for both figures here. So I'm going to do that for both. So we have the area of the base times the height. Well, the area of the base is just our actual base. And I'll use that in lowercase so we can distinguish which one. It's base times width, and then we have our times height here. Again, area of the base is base times width, and then we have our height. And so now I'm going to just plug in some numbers. You shift that over. I'm going to plug in some numbers. So this, let's call this one as our rectangle 1. We'll call the blue one as our rectangle 2. Just so that way we know. So rectangle 1, we have a height of 11. We have here's our base right here. And it looks like they're going to make it a little bit more complicated for us. So if we note that this section right here is 15, we know that this section right here is 15, that means that this section right here is not 20, it's 15, and that this section right here is 5, because 5 plus 15 is 20. So I'm kind of cutting things into pieces. So if this is 5, and I know that this right here is the same length as this one, so my base, my area of the base, it's base times width, is I have 6 times 5. So we'll use a calculator here in a minute. Now, you don't need a calculator for this. You should be able to do this, but we are providing a calculator for you. So that way it can be like a security blanket, and you would be able to not spend that much time on the little calculations and worry about, I don't know, factoring, right? Okay, so then we do the same thing for the other rectangle. So we have our base, which is 6, times our width, which is 15. And then our height is 4. So we have, on the first one, we have 6 times 5 times 11. The second one, we have 6 times 15 times 4. So again, I'm using my calculator. 6 times 15 times 4. That's 360. And then the top one is 6 times 5 times 11. And that's 330. So then we're going to add those two together. and we're going to get a total of 690. Now don't forget your units. This is centimeters, and volume is always cubed. All right, let's move on to number 2. Number 2 says find the surface area of the given figure. So this one here we have a cube. So we want the surface area of a cube. Now I'm going to show you this in two ways. So the first way is we find the surface area of one, then we find the surface area of the other, and then we remove what is really removed. So if we find the surface area of this cone, surface area of this cube, then we find the surface area of the cylinder, which is here. But then notice right here, there's a hole. So our cylinder, let me draw this out here. Our cylinder really doesn't have a bottom. Like this shaded part is hollow. So this is hollow. It doesn't have a bottom. And then if I draw out our cube, this part right here, I'm going to shade it in, is also hollow. So we have this cone without a bottom on top of this box, this cube, that has the exact same hole cut out on top that matches the hole of the bottom of the cylinder. So we are then removing the bottom of the cylinder, and that's the area of the base. And we are removing the same exact bottom of the cylinder that is on top of the box. Okay, so these two holes match. So I have surface area of cube plus your surface area of your cylinder. And I put plus, we are removing, so this should be minus. And I'm removing 2 area of the bases of the cylinder. Okay, so let's start plugging stuff in. Surface area of a cube. I'm looking here. Surface area of a cube is the lateral area plus 2 times the area of the base. Again, this is for the cube. Surface area for the cylinder, same thing, lateral area plus 2 times the area of the base minus 2, and this is the area of the base of the cylinder. Well, what is the area of the base? What is the base? The base is a circle. So the area of the base is 2 pi r squared. And I'm going to translate what lateral area is. So lateral area of a prism, which is this cube right here, is the perimeter times the height. And then we have 2 times the area of the base. And then the lateral area of your cylinder is 2 pi r times the h. That's 2 pi r times the height plus 2 times the area of the base, which is pi r squared. And then we have our minus 2 pi r. So before I do anything else with numbers, I want to point out that we have a plus 2 pi r squared and a minus 2 pi r squared. So if we were to undo them, we don't even want the numbers in just yet. What you will realize is we canceled out the 2 bases that we added to area of the bases, and we subtracted 2 area of the bases. So what we really did is we just added the lateral area of the cylinder. Okay, so instead of writing all of this out, you could have simplified it by doing the surface area of the cube plus the lateral area of the cylinder. But if you'd like to do it this way, you can as well. So whatever you're cutting out, that's the area that you're removing. Okay, so perimeter. What do we have? Oops, sorry about that. What we have is a square on the bottom with my height and my width being 5. So the perimeter is 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. That is 20. And then the area of the base is 5 times 5, which is 25. So the perimeter is 20. My height of my box is 5 plus 2 times my area of the base, which is 25. Plus 2 pi r, what is radius? Well, the diameter they're telling us is 4, so the radius is 2, and we're squaring that. Oh, just kidding. I was looking at the wrong thing. So the radius is 2, and the height is 4. So that's the lateral area of our cylinder, and this is the surface area of our cube. So then, again, we're going to just add everything together. Now, on your test, we would like exact answers. so you will need exact answers. So we have 100 plus 50 plus, what is this? 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. So what we have here is 150 plus 150 plus 16 pi. And all of that, don't forget, your units are inches. And we're working with surface area, and area is always squared. This is an exact form. Now let's say it's not an exact form. Just type that quickly into a calculator to give you an approximation. And we get for an approximated answer of 200.3 inches squared. That's your approximated answer. But here it is. That's the exact answer. And on your final, we do want exact answers. All right, number 3. Given the surface area of a cone. Now, originally there was a typo in here. I think there was a pi missing. Well, I don't think. I know there's a pi missing. That's why I put that in. So on your pretest, make sure to write in a pi. So we know that its surface area of a cone is 850 pi. The radius is 6 inches. We want the slant height. So slant height is this fancy L, like a cursive lowercase l. Okay, so given the surface area of a cone, so stop there. Given the surface area of a cone, okay. Surface area of a cone. That's what they're telling us, so that's what we have to start with. So surface area of a cone is the lateral area plus the area of the base, which is lateral area is pi r times the slant height. Area of the base is pi r squared. Since we know that the surface area, which is by this formula, given to us using this formula, is 850 inches squared, the radius is 6, the only variable that's left is our slant height. So I'm going to rewrite it. I have 850 is equal to pi, I almost said r, but we know what r is. R is 6 times the slant height plus pi. 6 squared is 36. I'm going to factor out a 6. I know I can pull out a 6 out of here. I know I can pull out a 6 here. I know I can pull out a pi. So I'm going to factor out 6 pi. That leaves me slant height plus 6. So then I have 850 divided by 6 pi is equal to slant height plus 6. And again, in exact form, you're going to want to leave an exact form. Oh, and you guys, did you catch that? I forgot my pi again. Here's pi. Here's pi. Here's pi. Here's pi. That's because we can cancel out the pi's. And see, that's why it's there. So I have 850 divided by 6 is equal to slant height plus 6. I'm going to, that's a 6. Subtract 6 both sides. So I have 850 divided by 6 minus 6 is equal to the slant height. And again, now that you have your trusty calculator available to you, you have 850 divided by 6 minus 6. Let's see what that gives us. And that gives us our slant height to be approximately 135.7. Oh, and I just realized you didn't see that. So our slant height is approximately, that's my approximate, 135.7. Don't forget your units. It's in inches, so our slant height is 135.7 inches, about. Okay, let's move on to number 4. If the volume of a sphere, again, volume of a sphere, so where's sphere? I'm looking at my volume sphere. So volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r squared. If the volume of a square is 228 pi, find its surface area. Okay, so this is what's given to us. I'm noticing the only variable I have is r. we don't know what the radius is. So we have to solve for the radius. So for these, let me get this out of the way. So for number 4, the first step you need to do is write out the equation for volume. So equation for volume. Then you need to solve for the radius. Then you need to use the radius for your surface area formula. Okay, so let's do that. We have the equation, so we're done with step number 1. Solve for r. I'm going to rewrite that. 4/3 pi r cubed is equal to 228 pi. I'm going to multiply both sides by 3/4 to get rid of my fraction. 3/4. So the 3's cancel out, the 4's cancel out. I'm left over with pi r cubed is equal to 228 times 3 divided by 4. And then I have my pi, excuse me. So then I'm going to divide by pi both sides. So when I divide by pi, it's the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. So you can say, instead of doing it this way, it might be easier to see, 1 times pi. So these cancel out. And then I'll do that here. So it'd be times 1 pi. So then our pi's cancel out. Oh, I just realized you can't see that. Sorry about that. Okay, so then our pi's cancel out. Let me erase that. So then we have r cubed is equal to, radius cubed is equal to 228 times 3. 228 times 3 is 684. Divide that by 4. I get 171. We're going to cube root that. So r is equal to the cube root of 171. Now, if we are asking for exact answers, you want to leave this in exact form. If not, you can approximate that. So the cube root of 171 is, whoa, that gave me something that shouldn't give me. About 5.55. But we're going to use the exact form. So then we solved for r. We got our equation. So use r, use the radius for the surface area formula. And again, of a sphere. So the surface area formula of a sphere is 4 pi r squared. So we have 4 pi. Our radius is cube root of 171 squared. And then again, if you're wanting to leave your answer in exact form, if it's asking for exact form, this is exact form. You would leave this. Don't do anything else to it. But since we have calculators, we can approximate this. So I have the cube root of 171, we said is 5.55. We're going to square that and times that by 4 and times that by pi. And that gives me 387.145. And let me double check that real quick one more time. So I have 4 pi times 5.55 squared. Yep. And that, once again, I just redid this real quickly on my calculator. It does give me this answer. Units, don't forget units. And it doesn't really tell us the units here, but you still need to write units. Since we're talking about surface area, it's going to be units squared. All right, so that was 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're moving on to number 5. Name each figure for number 5. This one here is a sphere. There you go, and you just got a point for naming it. Make sure you know how to name it. Find the lateral area and surface area of each figure. Round your answer to the nearest whole if necessary. Leave your answer in terms of pi for answers that contain pi. Okay, so what is this? Because all of these sides meet up to one point, this is a pyramid. And we want the lateral area and surface area. So I'm looking at my cheat sheet here for a pyramid. Surface area for a pyramid is lateral area plus the area of the base. So lateral area for a pyramid is 1/2 times the perimeter of the base times the slant height plus the area of the base. The base here is a rectangle. So we're going to do base times width for the area of the base. Okay, so then what we're doing is, let's see here. So we have the perimeter of the base is 8 times 4. So we have 32. So 1/2 perimeter of the base is 32. This is the base. Slant height 8.1 plus, and then base times width for the area of the base. 8 times 8 is 64. We're going to add that together. Half of 32 is 16. 16 times 8.1 is 129. Now I'm doing this separately for a reason, because it's asking for the lateral area. So we're going to have two answers. We're going to have lateral area and we're going to have surface area. So then we have, let me double check that, half of 32 is 16. 16 times 8.1 is 129.6. We're going to add that to 64. So we have 193.6. So lateral area is just this part here. So we have 129.6 inches. And again, lateral area is squared. Area is always squared. Surface area is going to be 193.6 inches squared. Again, surface area is always squared. All right, guys, I'm going to pause it here, and then we're going to pick up on number 7 in part 2.